Welcome to the part C of section 5 in the SAS programming course. In the previous part, we were talking about the proc transpose and how to transpose your data, and I'll just continue a little bit on that. So just briefly go through. We already talked about this, but just an overview of the proc transpose procedure and what statement it has, and or at least the ones that are mostly required when you want to transpose your data. So the first one is the by statement, which identifies which variable determines the observations or rows in the output data. Then there is the ID statement, uh, and a new variable or column is created for each value of the ID variable to the output data. And as a third one, there is the var statement, and the values from a variable identified in this var statement are transferred from one column to multiple columns. So when we are doing the transposing this way, that we are going from one column to multiple columns, then the by ide and var statements are all needed, and they work in the way that's said in this slide. But next we will go on and go into merging datasets. Merging of datasets can be divided into two ways: stacking of datasets one below the other, or merging them side by side. And this kind of merging of different datasets is actually something where SAS really comes in handy compared to, for example, if you handle your data with Excel, because then you can automate the merging using your programming statements, and it's much easier if you compare to doing it manually, for example, in Excel. So the first one is where you stack the data sets on top of each other. This is a situation where you get more rows from the second data and the third data to the first one. Then you use the set statement, and you simply list the data sets in the set statement. So here we have set one old, another old, and third old, and those three data sets will be merged one under each other, and they should then all have the same variables in each of those, or at least some of them same ones. So then they find automatically the pairs when they are being put together. One thing you should also remember is the library reference here. So if these three data sets would be in some specific folder, then you would need to put the library reference in front of each of these. So if they would be, for example, in the folder where library reference kir is referencing to, then you should put kir dot in front of each of these. So you would have kir dot one old, kir dot another old, kir dot third old, and then if you also want to save the end result in the same folder, you would put kir dot in front of this one too. So now it's assuming that these three data sets would exist in the work folder, because work folder is the default, and if you don't define anything else, it's only searching these data sets from the work folder. And it's also generating the output data into work folder. Merging of data sets side by side can be done either in I think I have a slight mistake here, but it's a 1-to-1 or 1-to-several ratio, and both can be determined with the merge statement. So basically, what's happened, let's go to the key part first. So we use a merge statement to say that we want to put together one old, another old, and third old. And now we are assuming that in each of these data sets we have some same statistical units. So we have some same subjects we want to put together. And in this case, it's the farm ID. So we are assuming that we have data from same farms in each of these data sets. And the by statement is needed to indicate that we want to put the rows together so that those that have the same farm ID will be put right next to each other. And you should also notice the sort procedure. So if all of these data sets we are merging, they have to be sorted by this by variable, which is the farm ID. Here we have an example where we sort the one old by farm ID, but we would need the same for the other two if they are not already sorted based on the farm ID. Uh, yeah, and more generally, whenever you have a by statement in a proc step, the dataset or datasets must be arranged in the order specified by the base by statement. And usually that means that you have to have a proc sort before the other procedure with the same by statement as you have in the other procedure, like we had here. We have a proc sort by farm ID when we are then in this case in data step using a by farm ID statement. Next, we have a couple of common problems or special cases that you might have a need to handle sometimes. One is a cumulative sum, which you can calculate by creating a variable whose value remains even if the observation row changes. And this can be done with a retain statement that we use here, or alternatively, you could use a sum statement. Uh, so in this example, we are calculating a cumulative sum for the variable named value, and the result is stored in the variable k sum. And what we are doing here is we first have the retain statement where we introduce this k sum as this kind of cumulative variable. And we also can give it an initial value, which will be 0 in this case. So we want to start the summing from 0. And then we have a familiar looking statement here where we say that the k sum is created by taking a previous k sum and adding the value of variable called value into the k sum. And yeah, then you have to also, of course, remember that the data is sorted in a logical order so that this cumulative sum will be done in a meaningful way. Then sometimes you need to create sort of combinatory variable from two or separate variables, and this can be also done with the if statement. So we have two variables, old one and old two. Old one has values 1 and 2. Old 2 has values 1, 2, and 3. And so we can simply, with the if statement, say that if old 1 is 1, old 2 is 1, then the new equals 1, 1, 1 or 11. And in the same way, we go through each combination and get the six different values for the variable new. Also, you can do the same thing using arithmetic operations. So, for example, like this, that we calculate the values for the variable new so that it's 10 times the old plus or the old one plus the old two. And then on the other hand, if the variables to be combined are in character format, then you have to do a little different thing. So you can do this so-called concatenation using this kind of expression. This is saying that we want to create the new, so that we just simply put together the values from old one and old three. And that also might end up so that there is some extra spaces in those character values, and then when we just put them together, there might be some extra spaces between the values, and the function called compress can be used to get rid of those extra spaces. So then it will really be just the values put together. Yeah, then sometimes the variable values might also include a bunch of mixed information, and you want to extract some different parts out of those. And it depends a little bit if it's numeric or character values. You can use different tools. Here is a few simple examples where we have this variable called cumulative, and we use creatively these functions in order to get the values we want. So the idea is that the value is like this, where the first number is a country code, the second number is always zero, and the next four numbers are a calving year for an animal, and then the last number is the calving time for the cows. And so we in the first one we get the country code so that we divide this number by 1 million, and the floor function then returns the integer part of the decimal number, and that's how we can get the first number out. Then in the other two parts we use the mod function that returns the remainder after the division. So we do the same kind of mathematical tricks that we divide and then get the remainder part, and that those in those ways we can get the calving year and calving time out. Then it's a little different if the values are in character format. So it's just like a string where we want to extract part of the string, and we can use a function called substr to get the substring. So basically how it works is that we first define the variable name, then we say as the second argument that it's the position where we start the extraction from, and the third argument is how many characters we are picking. So when we want to choose the country, we take starting from first only one. For year, we start from the third and pick four, and so on. Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop here.